Krystal, what have you got for us today?
Well, guys, the commercial real estate crash may well be upon us now. Let's take a look at what is coming out of New York City in terms of latest sales statistics. Put this first tweet up on the screen, guys. So in New York, according to a report in the Financial Times, buildings are selling for less than the value of the land that they sit on. We are seeing prices lower than they have been in 20 years. Imagine if your home value declined, like lost all of its value that was obtained over the last 20 years. I'm not sure people have come to terms with how long the storm will hover and how much damage it will do. Go ahead and put this full Financial Times report up on the screen because I want to get into a bit of this. Now, this is a topic that Sagar and I have been talking about for a little while. I did a monologue I looked back about a month and a half ago about this coming financial storm. Well, the Financial Times headline here is pretty dire. They say financial storm bears down on U.S. commercial real estate. Long-awaited reckoning arrives as building loans come due at a time of scarcer credit. They take a look at a 20-story tower at 529 Fifth Avenue that they say stands out from the other buildings around Grand Central Station for the surreal pink designs of an Alice in Wonderland-inspired art exhibit installed to fill vacant retail space on its ground floor. It's also remarkable as one among a small number of towers that have recently changed hands, giving a clue as to the value of Manhattan's older offices now that the commercial real estate sector has emerged from a historic era of ultra-cheap money. Silverstein Properties sold the building 3 months ago for $105 million in price per square foot terms. That was even less than a plot of land across the street commanded in just 2015. There's some incredible details here, but we went over this recently of some of the factors that led to this. And just to remind folks, there's a lot going on here. First of all, just as the housing market has been massively impacted and affordability massively impacted by Fed rate hikes, the same thing is happening here with commercial real estate. Furthermore, you have what has been described as a wall of debt, $1.5 trillion of debt that is coming due on these commercial real estate properties in just the next few years. So if you had these mortgages, these loans at very low interest rates, and now you're in a position where you have to refinance and the rate has gone way, way up, it's going to be tough for a lot of people to be able to make that work. Some of that bill is coming due now. By the way, overwhelmingly, that $1.5 trillion in debt is held by small and medium banks, which, as we know from the Silicon Valley Bank collapse and several other bank collapse, have been under tremendous pressure also because of the Fed interest rate hikes. So we've already seen banks moving to get out of commercial real estate and to try to sell off their portfolio, even at a loss, to try to get ahead of this coming reckoning. But the big story here is remote work. During the pandemic, workers forced to work from home. Now, many of them do not, for good reason, want to come back to the office or want to come back to the office full time. So you have all of this vacant office space, especially in New York, especially in San Francisco is probably the hardest hit of all cities, also in LA, but really in cities across the country where you just don't need nearly as much office space as you did just a few years ago. So some of the estimates are that office space valuations could drop by as much as 40%. 40%. Imagine what that means. To give you a few of the numbers here in terms of, how many workers are working remote and how quickly this has dramatically shifted. Back in 2018, you only had 6% of workers nationwide who were working remote. In 2023, you have more than a quarter, so 26% of workers who are now working remote. 66% of workers work from home at least some of the time. As I said before, this obviously had a huge impact on office space. Less than half of offices are occupied nationwide. Less than half. Back just a few years ago, occupancy rates were in the 90 percentile. So this is radically different from what we've seen. To go back to the Financial Times report that was specific to New York, there was one analyst there who was asked, I think this was a broker who was asked, how bad are things right now in the city of New York? They estimated that only the top 10% of office buildings in the city were not distressed. either in terms of the level of debt or of occupancy. Quote, I think we are on the front edge of the forced sales. So really take that in. 90% of offices in New York City are distressed. 90%. And as I said before, the debt is about to come due. And if this sale and others like it, where buildings are being sold for less than the plot of land was worth just a few years ago, it would certainly appear that the reckoning has arrived. And Emily, to me, increasingly, the more that I've looked at these numbers. Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.